Welcome back, everyone. Today we are reviewing the book Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. If you're a fan of this book, maybe skip the review. Let's get started. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Media Coven. Like I said, today we're discussing the book Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. I keep looking at the name, making sure I got her name right. This is one of those books that's been around for a long time. I think we've all seen interpretations of this book in movies, in cartoons, and everywhere. And actually, I've never read the book before, so I thought it's a good time to read it because they announced in Netflix that they were going to be releasing a movie. I think Guillermo del Toro was the one that's doing the production. And since I like him, I said I'm going to read the book first before I watch the show. And and I was probably like the only person that wasn't too happy with either of the things. Right now I'm just discussing the book, not the show. If I had to discuss the show, I would say that it was all right, but at the same time, I didn't really like it. Like, it wasn't a movie that after I watched it, I said I want to watch it again because it was great. I think a lot of people fell in love with Frankenstein's monster, and that's one of the things that I kept seeing all over the place. They just kept having a crush on him and on Frankenstein too. But for me, I was like, I didn't really care for it. And another movie that I really like is Crimson Peak, and it almost had that same vibe, but it wasn't really it for me. I just didn't like the movie. But today we're just discussing the book. In the book, same thing. I know this is a classic. I know everybody likes it, but I wasn't a fan of it. I was surprised too that I didn't really like it the way I thought I was gonna like it. And I have my review here that I wrote when I first read the book. Because as you know, I read so many books that I have to write the review and then make the video. And by the time I do the review, I don't remember everything in the book. So that's why I'm glad that I always write the review right when I finish it, so I can get the exact thoughts that I had when I first read the book. So for the review, I'm just going to read what I wrote and let's see what I thought. I do remember I didn't like it, so let's see what happens. Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. It was written in 1818 and I gave it 3 stars. So that's not good. And then it says, read the book before the movie came out. I gave this book 4 stars, but only because I felt bad giving it 2 or 3 because it's a classic. And like I said, I think in the review I wrote for Goodreads, which is always different from this. Sometimes it's the same, sometimes it's a little different. I remember that I gave it 3 stars. And the actual stars I wanted to give it was 2 because I just didn't really like it. And something else that I found out was that there's 2 versions of this book. I don't know which one this is. This one just says Frankenstein. But I know that there's another one. And apparently it was because the author, she later on went back and added or took some things away. I don't remember what exactly was the situation with that. But when I read this book, I just wasn't into it. And I don't think I read the book. I think I got the audiobook from it. I never remember. Because, I work a lot. I like to have audiobooks when I'm at work. And then I have the physical books when I'm in my house if I want to read it here. This one I might have gone as an audiobook from what I remember. And I remember that I kept losing track of the book. Sometimes that happens. Even when you're reading, sometimes you're reading a book and suddenly you go, what did I just read? What's going on? And you have to go back to where you lost track and it's all over. That's happened a couple times. With this audiobook, I clearly remember that I had to restart it like 4 times. Because I was reading it, and then I went, where am I? What was I doing? Because I just kept wandering. And it started from the second I started the book. So I knew that was going to be bad, because when I really enjoy a book, I get really invested right away. I know that there's a lot of books where the beginning can be a little slow. Once the story goes on, you get invested, you get interested, you want to know what's happening. With this one, that it was not happening. I kept losing track. But I said I'm gonna read it because it's a classic, and because I always said I wanted to read it, so I read it, and let's see let's see what happened. So I'm gonna continue with what I wrote in the review. I've been wanting to read this book for years now, and finally I made the time to do it. I work a lot. My job has me doing a lot stuff by myself. My thoughts, so I love listening to books. This is the one I picked for the spooky season. That means that I probably read this book around October, because I always like to match books due with the whatever time it is, December, October, or spring. First issue I had with this book was that I had to restart it multiple times, like I was saying. So much that the library took it back because my loan time on it ran out. So then I remember. The book, I got it from Libby. And I remember it was, I think a lot of people were reading it because of the special that Netflix was going to show the movie. And I remember I kept starting it all over. And there were times where I think I was reading another audiobook, listening to another audiobook, that eventually the library took it back and I had to get another one because it was just taking too long for me to get through the book. The second issue came up, so this is when the whole thing where I was reading this book, listening to it, the library took it back. This is the issue that came out. When I tried renewing, because no one was waiting on it, it disappeared. The library no longer had it, so I had to get another book. And another problem I had when looking for the book, it is apparently there are many versions, but I picked one. It no longer mattered. I just needed to get through this freaking book. So that's never happened to me before. So, like I said, I checked out the audiobook. I was listening to it. They asked for it back. I gave it back. And then, since there was no waiting line, I wanted to do that thing where they allow you to renew it. It didn't let me, so I said, fine, I'll just get it again. And the book that I was listening to disappeared from the catalog. I don't know. This never happened to me before, so I don't know why I did that. So then I had to get another book, and then I started it from the beginning because this one was a little different from the one I had before. And then I said, I'm just going to go through it. If I get lost or not, I'm just going to get through it because it was getting ridiculous. I was restarting it. The library apparently got rid of it for some reason. I don't know why. And then I had this. This is the copy I have. I think I found this at a thrift store. It's from the Barnes & Noble Classic Collection. And I said, if for some reason that happens again, I have this book. But I really wanted the audiobook just to finish it. Because, like I said, I kept losing track. I wasn't entertained by the book. I wasn't having a good time with it. Let me continue. The first audiobook was by a narrator with an accent that was doing a good job in changing his voice whenever the character changed. Very important in audiobooks. The second audiobook was narrated, somewhat changed his voice, but like not really. So I had to keep going back to make sure I understood who was talking. And this book does that thing where one person is telling the story, one is listening, and then they are telling the story to someone else, and we are eavesdropping. Why do they do this? Dracula also did this. I wonder if it was popular for authors to do this around that time. That's one of the other things, that this whole story is told by one person who was told by another person, and then I remember that they were writing to their sister, telling them the story of what they heard about the story. And I remember I made the link because before I read Frankenstein, maybe a couple months back, I've read Dracula for the first time too. And Dracula was written in that way too, where the story is being told by like a story within the story. You're not looking at the Dracula story straight. There's somebody like writing, telling the story to someone, and you're reading what they're writing. And this one was doing the same thing. And I thought maybe this is what was popular to do. Because I know every generation does something with books. So maybe that's what they were doing back then. And again, there are parts in the book that I like and I was interested. And then parts of them seem boring and slow. And I keep having to go back to make sure I didn't lose track of something. Something that I found funny is that in every movie that depicts this book, the creation of the monster is so iconic and dramatic. And when it happened in the book, I missed it. He wasn't there, then he was. I had to go back because I completely missed it. And when I did read it, or reread it, it was fast and quick. Like the monster was made in a microwave, 2 minutes and done. I really thought it would have had much more, unless I missed it again. That's the other weird thing. When I was reading the book, every single time I've seen a movie where they bring up Frankenstein's, the way he was created, they make this big fuss with like lightning and like, we've all seen those movies where it's such an iconic scene where the creation and then he's alive. Even if you go to the black and white movie, you hear the words, he's alive, he's alive. And then when I read the book, I said, wait, he's already awake. But what happened? Where was it? And again, like I said, I just needed to get through it. I did go back, and I didn't miss anything from what I remember. I didn't miss anything. Maybe I'm wrong. If I'm wrong, let me know. But the creation of Frankenstein in the book was just like, she put it. Oh, not he put it in the microwave. 2 minutes later, here he's here. The creation is here. And I thought, why is it that in every depiction of this book, the creation is such a big fuss, and then in the book, it's literally a couple sentences and that's it? I don't know. And again, maybe I missed it because I was sick and tired of this book. Maybe I missed it. If I did, and you're somebody that's read this book and love this book, maybe tell me, go back and read it, because, and if I do go back and read it, I'm gonna read the actual book, not the audiobooks, because the audiobooks were so messy, the ones I found. Like I said, with the audiobooks, the first one was being read by this person with an accent, and I really like people with accents, and they were doing a good job with changing their voices depending on who was talking. The second book, I don't know how that book got through as an audiobook, because the person was reading it just like reading it, like da, 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 da. Like, you have to change your voice. If we're listening to you, you need to give us a performance. But I don't know what happened. I don't know what. And like I said, there's so many audiobooks. How are you going to know which one's the best? But like I said, if I do read it again, it's probably have to be the actual book and not the audiobook. And then and like I said, this is even a short review, so I didn't really care for it. And it says, in the end, I just got through it. It was getting ridiculous that I kept having to go back. I am intending to add this book to the pile of books I read physically, and I might think differently when I do that. Might do another review or edit this one. Like I said, because I don't know, I keep trying to defend the book. That's my problem. I'm trying to defend it because it's a classic. That's why I keep defending it. But I just did not like it. Like, I did not really like it. Because there's a lot of books that I've read in audiobooks that the second I get to the flow, I get interested. I can see everything. I'm in that world. But with this one, I keep losing track. And it was one of those weird things where I'm listening to the story and then they're talking. And then I go, what am I going to do when I get home? Oh yeah, I have to do this, I have to do that. And then I go, oh, and tomorrow I should go to the store and do this. And oh, remember the next week you say you were going to. And then I went, wait, what happened? And then I had to go back and read But this kept going on so much that I said, I'm done with it. Like I said, I read it in October. So it must have been October 2025. It is now April. Maybe I might read it again when next October, maybe. I'm not giving you any promises, but again, if you're a fan of this book and you want to tell me why you love it, or you want to say, give it a second shot, but maybe read the actual book, let me know in the comment sections, because right now this book has maybe a 2.5-star rating for me. I'm not a fan of this book. And I was really disappointed that such a book that's so iconic and well known wasn't good. Like, I didn't really like it. But that was my review. I'm gonna give Frankenstein by Mary Shelley 3 stars. I'm gonna be nice. I'm gonna say 3 stars. And like I said, if you're somebody that loves this book and you're like, you should read it again and give it a shot, I'll do it. But maybe not until October, because I need more space between this book and how I felt about it. But anyway, that was my review. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe. If you're somebody that loves this book, I would love to hear about you. If you also didn't like this book and you had the same issues like I did, I would also like to hear about that. So thank you so much. Remember to keep on reading, vibe to the music, and keep your eyes on the screen. Goodbye. Until next time. Cut.